Hi, greetings everyone. My name is Rupert. I want to share with you a little bit about traditional storytelling and the impacts. And what I want to share with you right now is a dream that came to my dad. After a funeral, we were burning the food and we're sitting at the fire, and he's telling me about this. He's like, I should have told you these things when you were young, but sometimes, our journeys take us on different places, and we learn things at different times. So he told me when he was a young man, he was a teenager there. His name's Mitigimish. And when Mitigimish was young, he had the dream and he was walking down this big open field. And as he's going down the field, he gets to the end and there's another person around the same age. He doesn't know who that person is. But they're walking and they start to go down this path. And when the path opens up, what they see is this huge white house. And they start walking towards the house. He said he'd never seen something so bright, so large as this day in his dream. And as they're going towards the house, the two young men, they go up the stairs and the door opens up. And Mitigimish knows that he shouldn't go in the house. He has this horrible feeling. So he waits, but the other person goes in the house. And as they start to walk into the house, they start to get brighter and they start to radiate and they're glowing. And they get halfway down the hall and there's a drawer. They pull open the drawer and they're looking in there. And Mitigimish sees, and he knows what's happening. That other young man is getting all the things he wanted in life, all the gifts that he wanted. Courage, strength, supernatural understanding, supernatural gifts are starting to come for him. He's radiating, he's being filled with love, all of those things. And as Mitigimish is watching this person get brighter and brighter, at the end of the hall opens a door. And out of that door comes this huge, hideous creature. And it starts stomping down the hall, but that person doesn't know what's going on. They're so encapsulated in what's going on in that drawer, and they're still continuing to radiate. Mitigimish knows what's going to happen. That creature's going to take the life of that man. So he starts to yell, "Hey, get out of there! We need you to get out!" And that person's completely oblivious to what's happened. You can't hear anything, and that creature's getting closer. He's stalking down to where that other young man is. So Mitigimish makes the decision, goes in the house, pulls the man out, and they get to the door, and they're watching that creature come after them. They know what's going to happen. If it catches them, it's going to take their lives. So they go down that stairs. They go back through the trail. They're getting tired. They're getting out of breath. They get to that big open field again, and as they start to go through the field, it takes them about 15 minutes, and they get to the other side. Mitigimish looks back to see where that creature is. And just as he does that, this old man comes walking out. He's wearing a green blanket. He's got a long white braid. His face is all wrinkled up. It's the most beautiful wrinkled face he'd ever seen. And Mitigimish says, "Grandpa, who are you?" And he yells that out, and he hears nothing. "Grandfather, who are you?" He hears nothing. And he sits and he thinks about it. If I was that old man knowing what's going to happen, I would want these people to wait to make sure that he's okay. So they wait, and that old man really slowly, what took them 15 minutes to get across, it's an hour, 2 hours, and he's only halfway across the field. And he yells again, "Grandpa, who are you?" Nothing. Finally, that old man catches up to them, and just as he does, they see that creature coming out again. "Grandpa, who are you?" All of a sudden, he stands up, he takes the blanket off, and he takes off down one of the trails. And the two young men look at each other. How is this possible? It took him this long to get across the field, and now he's gone. "Grandfather, wait for us!" That creature's coming after them fast, so they take off running, trying to keep up to the old man. And eventually there's a fork in the road. They don't know where to go. They're tired. They're out of breath. They're having a hard time. Eventually they catch up to the old man. And when they get to him, they see that the old man is blind. He can't see anything. He says, "Grandpa, who are you?" And that old man says to him, "Grandson, I'm the Indian way of life." And then Mitigimish woke up. He never told anyone about that dream. And about a year later, he's in a ceremony and he's helping out, and it's completely dark in there. And he gets in and he sits down. And one of the old men say to him, "Grandson, there are two of you that day in that dream, wasn't there?" Mitigimish thinks, oh, I never told anyone. He says to himself and that old man, who was the other person in the dream? And the old man says, the other person in the dream was you, grandson. Mitigimish thinks about it. Over the years, dreams are one of the ways that we can learn. We can learn from each other. We can learn from our environment. Our life is about a story. Our life is a ceremony. And so, as Mitigimish is getting older and he starts to understand that dream, what the dream talks about, if you follow this way of life, he says, there are no shortcuts. And if you take shortcuts, they can bring harm to yourself, to your family, to your loved ones, to your community. So that person who was in the house that was getting all those gifts was getting a shortcut, and that's why that creature was coming after them. And he says, my dad says to me, if you follow the Indian way of life, son, you must always look after the old ones. They're going to be the teachers. They're the ones who are going to show you the path. And he says, when you run this path, you run the path with your heart. But when you're young, you get stuck in your head. That old man, even though he was blind, he knew where to go. And he was fast because he wasn't stuck in his head. But he knew how to run the road with his heart. And so when you're young, you're trying to figure these things out still. And the other thing is, there's always going to be that option. Do I take a shortcut? Do I do this? And so that was a story that he shared with me. And I asked him, can I share that with people? And he said, yeah. Only if you share the whole thing. I thought, okay. And he only told it to me one time. And I remembered that. And it speaks to me at different times in my life. And it's helped me at different times in my life when I'm at a different place. And I share that with you with the hope that it will have meaning to you at some point in your life.